All right, we're live. Well, live on one end. Live on one end right now. Turn this around, and now we're live on Periscope as well. So I'm scoping and streaming on YouTube at the same time. Um, what's up? Welcome. As the title explains, open topic live Q&A. So basically, we just talk about anything that's on your guys' mind. Ask questions, regardless. Not really much of like a main topic set. There's none. So what's up, Tito? How are you? Hey, what's up, Chad? How's it going? TJ, what's up? Hey, what's going on? Open topic, guys. Oh, don't mind my son. He's grouchy today. Donald, hey, Tito. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? My son is not feeling good at all. He's been grouchy, so you guys might hear him cry quite a bit. He has his back teeth coming in, so they're pretty painful. What flavor? Pumpkin out. It's like a pumpkin spice. So what's up with you guys tonight? How's your Sunday going on so far? What's your real opinion on the new boost plans? I like them. I like them just basically, you know, I know that some people don't like them because of the video is pretty much throttled, I guess you can say, and so is music. But then again, when I'm out and about, I'm not too, I don't watch YouTube and stuff like that, so the video doesn't really affect me. As far as being able to use as much data, I guess I'm not a big data hog because I don't really hit over like 20 gigs in a month. I don't know. How are you liking the LG X Power? Do you plan on switching anytime soon? Actually, no. I'm sticking with the X Power. I love the fact that I can go in a day and a half on a single charge. That's a good thing. In 2017, do you think there will be a J7 sequel or a higher Galaxy A8? I think so. They released Samsung down to actually put anything out like that. That's someone that wants to come in, so I'm about to add somebody to this broadcast. So let's invite. Put my headphones on because I don't want any feedback. I just hate it when cords get tangled, even though they're supposed to be like the non-tangled type, but they get tangled anyways. Is the ZTE Z Max Pro coming to Boost? No, that's a GSM built device. It's not going to come to Boost Mobile. Let's see. The mid-tier phones are getting good. Yes, they are. That's a true statement. They really are. I don't know if there ever will be anything equivalent to the Z Max Pro that would come to Boost Mobile. And the reason why I said the Z Max Pro won't come to Boost Mobile because it's a GSM phone. There was not any built for CDMA. Did you hear about the Frenchman breaking iPhones at the Apple Store? Yeah, I heard something about that. That's like kind of going a little viral, isn't it? Well, I sent an invite out to Ron B. or Ron Berry. I'm going to see if he'll come in, if he wants to go live with me on this. I'm also simultaneously streaming to Periscope as well. So if you guys kind of see me looking off to the left, there's not actually anyone sitting next to me. It's just I'm on Periscope right now. I'll actually put everybody on Periscope right now. So yeah, we're live on Hangouts. Let's look on Periscope. So what do you guys think about the whole Frenchman destroying all those iPhones? Kind of weird, isn't it? Almost kind of like that story where the guy in T-Mobile, um, he just went on a rampage and was like destroying all the products in the store. I'll send another invite again and see if he gets it. I don't know if he got it or not. So let's invite. Invitation posted. So we got any more questions? Let's see. Would you ever use an iPhone on Boost, or do you think they're too expensive, or will you always be an Androidian? Uh, yeah, no, I won't use an iPhone. You should review vapes too. I'm actually planning on doing it. I will not blame the guy for doing that. Yeah. I mean, I have my reasons why I don't use an iPhone, and it's just my reasons. Though I would never say to anyone that they shouldn't get one, because I mean, people probably have a better experience on iOS than they would on Android. It's just everyone has their preferences, but you guys won't see me using an iPhone, much less reviewing one or anything like that. He did it because of bad customer service. I think he couldn't get a refund or something like that. Yeah, these days customer service is not exactly what it used to be. Um, I mean, of course, we can dive deep into all the variables of why it is the way it is nowadays, but let's just call it as it is. Um, no one gives good customer service anymore, and because of that, you're kind of looking at scenarios where people will just kind of flip out and go nuts. As far as bringing vaping to the channel, when I start getting some stuff to show people, I mean, yeah, I mean, the most I can probably do right now is like e-liquid reviews because I get from different manufacturers for e-liquid for vaping, and right now I'm actually using one from a company that's local here to Arizona called Exquisite Liquids, and they've actually been pretty good. Let's see, how do you feel the headphone jack will die? Or do you feel the headphone jack will die completely? No, I don't think that the headphone jack is going to die completely. It's just one of those things. Apple decides that they wanna take a gamble and remove the headphone jack off their iPhone, and it's a smart idea because of course since the acquisition of Beats Audio, um, they're pretty much more hardware than anything. So pushing, it's a good thing for them to have the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus not have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and you got all this inventory of Bluetooth headsets from Beats that you're manufacturing and you're putting out there. So it just kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like no headphone jack on the iPhone 7, but by the way, we got you covered because we have AirPods, we have Beats Solo 3s, we have all these, and then of course third-party Bluetooth headphones are probably even more happier because it's bringing them business. So, for instance, like Skullcandy has Bluetooth headphones, and I'm pretty sure, they're going to start selling off the wazoo because they have, people that iPhones is a very popular phone. So, how do you like it over there in Arizona? I'll tell you this much. I'd rather live back in Hawaii if I could, but Hawaii is like absolutely way too expensive to live there. Uh, I mean, if anyone ever goes to vacation out there, you'll see exactly what I mean that by expensive. You know, it's way overpricey.
Whoa.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Is my camera working?
I see Never Forget 9/11.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm not gonna be having my camera on tonight.
That's fine.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I've got a little panel here of people asking some questions and whatnot. So,
Yeah, I'm in and out of tech, as you probably know. Like sometimes I'll restart researching stuff, and then next I'm not really worrying about it.
uh
But I was just watching a video, Marquez Brownlee of the LG V20. Beautiful, beautiful phone.
huh. What are your thoughts on it?
The only gripe I have is the design. It has the design of the LG G5, and if I'm not a big fan of the LG G5. Um, the phone's bigger than the LG V10. They still have that weird screen at the top, and like Marquez said in this video, it should be at the bottom because of
Uh-huh.
how big the phone is. But I mean, it's a nice phone. Another LG phone I do want to talk about, which you've covered in the previous live stream, is the LG X Power or LG Power X,
Yeah.
4100 milliamp power battery. I
Yeah.
wish I wish that was standard in 2016, but it seems like battery capacities are getting smaller.
Yeah, they're kind of going on a backwards roll.
I mean, it's funny though because my iPhone 6 gets 5 hours, like 5 hours and 20 minutes, while my One Plus One with a bigger battery only gets like 4 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah. We got a question here. This one, maybe you can elaborate on this one. Do you ever feel that phones and tech in general, spec-wise, are advancing too quickly?
Um, that depends. It depends. Is he talking about flagships?
Well, let's see. Let's see if he responds back. This is Jake Wolf's question, by the way. I don't know. I've had this discussion before. Mainly towards Android though, like this how fast they keep putting out updates or like that. Well, major updates basically. Like now the 7.1 is coming. And I think it's just too soon for that.
See, I like with the iOS and iPhone and Apple, it really doesn't matter because they move at their own pace. But with Android, it depends because you remember in 2013 we saw the large growth of like quad core processors, 2 gigs of RAM. I mean, but in 2012 we still had dual core processors and like 1 gig of RAM on the Android smartphone. So it seems like every year it advances quickly, but it seems here in 2015 and 2016, and now we're going to be going to 2017, that is kind of slowed down. I don't think Android OEMs are as competitive as they were back in the day, like HTC and Samsung.
Yeah.
I think they're more just like the companies have a phone for a certain type of user. I mean, you want the best of the best, everybody says gets the Galaxy S7. You want a really big battery, go with the LG. If you just want a regular old phone, get an HTC. So it's more of what phone is for you than um, the rate, like the spec race, I guess you could say, or the advancing in specs. Because all phones now all have the same processors. Literally every flagship has a Snapdragon 820, 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. Um, 128 gigabytes of storage or like 64 gigabytes of storage with a 128 gigabyte micro SD card. It's not really much of a race. And I hate to say it, but the Galaxy Note 7 is like the S line. You remember the Note 7 used to be the higher up,
Right.
or the Galaxy Note line, not the Note 7. So
Yeah.
here recently, no, it hasn't been advancing. And it's sad because I used to get so happy when a new phone comes out. I was like, oh, it makes that other phone look like crap.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think waterproof feature is good? I think so.
Oh, I really think so. I am so glad that the iPhone 7, while it's not waterproof, it's water resistant.
Yeah.
It took Apple. It's it's about damn time. That's all I have to say.
Right.
I
Are
mean,
you
it's
gonna get one?
2016.
Are you gonna get one?
No, can't afford it.
Uh,
If I could, I would have a 6S Plus right now.
I thought there was some sort of thing going on where like I guess with T-Mobile that if you brought in any of the older generations from the 5 on up, you can get like the 7 I think was what for 150 and the Plus for 250 or something like that. I read somewhere about that.
I know T-Mobile has it to where you can you the T-Mobile has it to where you like the 1 year contract.
Yeah.
Sorry about the noise in the background, but the where you can upgrade every year and you don't have to pay like no I guess you call it installments or something.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I ask everybody because everybody in the Android forums, they all have the T-Mobile plans and they get all these phones every year, and because the only thing you have to do is add a line. So they said something about like the whole installments. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's cool. Actually, we got a okay. So Jake actually he elaborated on his his question. He says that what he means is with the phone specs, like how quickly RAM and processors are advancing so quickly and screens are getting so advanced, is there a time it will find an end? All phones. What he posted. I guess he started about like just like the chipsets, how much RAM's being put into the phone and the screen resolutions. Like, is it advancing too quickly?
It's advancing too well in some areas, yes. In bigger phones, I can say I think it's advancing too quickly because like TVs, for example. You know how these TVs, okay, you have a 1080p TV, but the PPI is like 100 and something compared to a smartphone where we got smartphones that the pixels per inch is all the way in the 500s.
Right.
The bigger the screen, the lower pixels per inch you need. Well, that's not necessarily the case because smartphones are different than TVs and tablets and stuff. But is there going to be a point to where it ends? No, technology is always going to advance.
Right.
I mean, we're going to get. I mean, there's some phones like I think it's a Sony phone that actually had one of the Xperia phones that actually has a true 4K display. It's not perfect. The phone heats up pretty badly, I heard. And I mean, like I said, it's not perfect, but phones are always going to move forward, and it's a good thing because everybody proves planned obsolescence wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's actually a real thing because, especially with Android phones, because you have these powerful chipsets. I mean, the Snapdragon 801 in my OnePlus One, that thing still gets the job done. I mean, in terms of gaming, it's not really practical. I mean, it's sluggish in gaming. The processor came out, 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's as long as technology keeps moving, I mean, it's going to be a good thing for the industry. I mean, but as far as like putting a 500 pp on a smartphone, I think even in 2016 that's ridiculous because the iPhone 7 Plus or 6 Plus and 6S Plus, they have that 1080p screen with 401 pixels per inch, and that thing, and what everybody says, it's beautiful. I went to the store and looked at it. It looked fine to me, but my iPhone 6 has a 4.7-inch display with 326 pixels per inch, and sometimes I prefer to watch it over my 1080p OnePlus One, which has the same screen resolution and pixels per inch as the iPhone 6 Plus.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion.
Speaking of the iPhone, I'll ask you a question because I haven't actually gotten to chat with you in a while. So, you've heard of fellow tech blogger Chris Pirillo, right?
Not a big fan of him, but yes, I have.
Okay. Have you seen his recent, I guess like his recent, I want to say his opinions about, 60 frames per second on the iPhone? Because he went on this whole rant when he was unboxing the 6 Plus, and during his unboxing, he likes to ramble on about things, and he dives deep into what he is talking about, and he hits this one point where I feel like he kind of went into nerd rage mode and just went off about the 60 frames per second that was promised on iPhones that he clearly doesn't see, and how he can't send in like a bug report because one, you can't replicate the issue on command when it comes to that, and two, when he tries to, the feedback, it won't let him send any feedback. Like, so have you experienced any of the same things that he's talking about?
I have not tried 60 frames per second on my iPhone 6 because I really don't take videos. And every time I do it, for some odd reason, I don't know if this is my iPhone or this is many iPhones. Every time I switch it to 60 frames per second, I take a video. For some reason, I don't go back and look at the video because when I take a video, I take it and then send it and then delete the video because I only have 16 gigs. But if I go back and go to my camera settings, it's right back at 30 frames per second. Me, personally, older iPhones that are capable of 60 frames per second, which you said he had a 6 Plus, so that would be a 2-year-old iPhone. The thing that people have to realize, yes, iOS is optimized, but it's optimized for day-to-day usage. Stuff like that, I don't think an iPhone can handle because of how weak the processor is. iPhone 7 can probably handle it like a dream because it's the first iPhone with a quad-core processor. But in terms of the 6 Plus, he has the right to rant about it because, like I said, I don't think it's capable of 60 frames per second. So I haven't seen the video, but I have to watch it.
Yeah, I
He
would
might be
definitely
right.
say check it out. Like, yeah, definitely check it out because I mean he made some valid points, and I guess like when I watch his vlogs about stuff like that, like I take into consideration what he says because I mean it's clearly obvious that he's more of an iOS user than Android. I mean, for years now, when he has done like reviews on smartphones, when it came to Android, like I mean, he'll call it how he sees it, which I respect him on that. And but you could just tell clearly that he's more into the iOS ecosystem than he is with Android, as far as like how he judges the phones when he does his reviews. So it's just kind of odd to see him go on this nerd rage about it. To even talk about that, and to even as much to clearly state that he feels that Apple is today more concerned about hardware than software, which is like kind of strange to hear that.
Yeah, and see, both operating systems have matured. I mean, they have both come a long way. When Android 5, you remember when Android 5.0 came out,
Yeah.
it was a step towards a new direction. 5.0 had problems, yes. Let's forget about those. Along with iOS 7, which iOS 7 actually came out the year before. I think iOS 8 came out with Android 5.0. They both had problems, but they were a step towards the right direction. Now we're at 7.0 and iOS 10, and they're both perfect. I personally, I used to be one, I'm not going to lie, I used to be one of those fanboys that says iPhones suck, until I actually bought one and used it. And I actually now prefer it over Android, as you can tell in our group chat.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of ecosystems, I love both. I particularly don't use Windows Phone, but I know from what people tell me it's a good operating system is the lack of apps that hinder it from being a perfect operating system. But they both do things that, how do I say this? How do I word it? Android does stuff that iOS can't, and iOS does stuff that Android can't. And that's why I love using both, because you get the both experiences.
Right.
And I mean, it's awesome, pretty much. Like, one thing I do not like about iOS, which people like to make an argument, is that iOS, or the iPhone itself, not even iOS, does not have a true back button. I mean, that's just the thing that really bothers me, especially in an app like Google Plus that is built for that, because it's built for Android.
Right.
Like, for some odd reason, if I go to like, for example, if I go to download a picture from a forum, And for some reason, if the album has 20 pictures in it, if I download the 20th picture, for some reason it downloads the first picture, which means I have to open it on the web, and it opens it. You know how like Google Plus has its own like built-in browser.
Yeah.
It opens it on that built-in browser inside the Google Plus app. If I open the picture, it opens it in a new tab. But if I go back, I can't. It goes right back into the app. I can't go back to the album. That's the things. The things like that is why. What bothers me about iOS, but like for Android, for example, Apple Music, it's really glitchy on Android. It's like Apple hasn't even tried to like code the app correctly for it to work. And I prefer the Android version of Apple Music because the new design in iOS 10, first of all, everything's really big.
Yeah.
like when they made iOS 10, they just like enlarged the font of everything. But if you go to recent searches, there's only 3 of them that you can choose from, compared to like 10 on Android. And every time I go to listen to music, I like going back in my recent searches because, I mean, I'm not good with music. Remember what every song is.
Yeah.
But there's only 3 on the iPhone. And it's built for the iPhone, so I'm sitting here like, really, Apple? So each has its own, like, I guess you'd say wins and losses in terms of functionality.
Yeah.
But they both operate really almost the same if you think about it. I mean, they're both smartphones.
Yeah,
They
I agree with you there. I feel like, I don't know, today just yeah, okay, like let's take it back 3 years ago when they had the whole OS wars and everything, and like how conversations even like on Google Plus would get heated within like the first 2 minutes if someone just mentioned anything, like if it was a post about something that Android just recently got, and then someone would say like like oh the iPhone was able to do it, and then it would just get heated right there, just start going. Nowadays it's kind of calmed down, and I'm actually kind of like it's kind of a good thing that it's like that because to me I feel like the lines is blurred. There's whether who did it first really shouldn't matter, but the fact that like now, say if someone that had an Android device was to transition over to iOS, the transition to me feels like it would be a lot smoother than what it would be before because there's features that iOS has that was an Android and vice versa. So that's like
mm-hmm.
that's the best part that like I'm starting to see that I like as far as where mobile technology is going in a whole.
And that's exactly how I feel. Let's go back to 2012 when you had iOS 6 and Android 4.2. Oh, that's a long time ago.
Jelly Bean.
Jelly Bean. Whew, I remember those days like it was yesterday. But okay, I can't think of a specific feature that each had, like comparing each other.
Right.
But it was like if you were a person that had an iPhone 5, but you wanted a Galaxy Note 2, it would be a hard change because back then we didn't have all these features like backing up. Now when you switch to either phone, there's actually like features inside the operating system that lets you accept backups from the other operating system. If you get what I'm saying, like phone numbers and pictures and stuff. We didn't have that stuff 4 years ago. I mean, like Apple Pay wasn't a thing 4 years ago. I mean, we had Google Wallet. You remember, people were showing off with their Android phones, like with the Galaxy Nexus, like, oh, I can make payments
Yeah.
right with my phone. You couldn't do that with an iPhone back then.
Right.
So when Apple Pay came out, it was awesome. I have not used Apple Pay, but I have it on my phone. But it's little things like that both have now, which makes it an easier process to switch over. When it comes to security, I still very, very much 100% prefer iOS over Android. But I'm more into rooting and ROMing my phone, so that's why.
Well, which phone do you have ROM'd right now?
The OnePlus One. That's the only Android phone I have right now.
What ROM you running on it?
Resurrection Remix 5.7.4. And shout out to that team too, because it's probably the best ROM that you could use on a smartphone, in my opinion. And it's all the way up to date. I was actually last week, before I actually broke down an update, was using a build from May, and it still had the May security patch.
Right.
But that thing's smooth as butter. And it's like, back to the question about the whole specs and everything like that, like, will it ever stop? The 801, people are quick. If you go on Google Plus and say, oh, the Snapdragon 801 still gets the job done, people are quick to try to deny your comment. Like, oh, the Snapdragon 801's old, it's a piece of dirt, it's a grandpa. But if you actually use the phone, if you put it up to next to an 820, you'll see an obvious difference. I mean, it's night and day obvious. But if that's all you have, the 801, which that's all I have right now, besides the Apple A8 chip and the iPhone 6, I mean, use the thing. Now, if you have something like a Galaxy S2, I mean, yeah, you kind of need to upgrade a little bit, but it's not always a bad thing to be 1 or 2 years behind.
Right.
Like I said, my 801, it doesn't get as cool as a Snapdragon 820, but I mean, it heats up quite a bit, but it still gets the job done. I don't overclock. I don't beat my phone down like I did with the Galaxy S3. I love that phone.
I remember that phone.
Man, that thing used to get really hot. I used to overclock the crap out of it, but it gets the job done. I can open Google Plus and it won't take 5 years to open. So eventually, and actually, the 18-month period where Google will issue an update. I think it's like 18 months, and they'll stop after that.
Right.
Unfortunately, the OnePlus One, the phone everyone loves, cannot get the 7.0 update. Of course, you got the community, but it's still fast even on Marshmallow. A phone that came with KitKat, it is fast on Marshmallow. And in terms of speed, I prefer it over the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 is really, really speedy fast, but it just can't touch the OnePlus One. That's my opinion. So in 2 years, it's going to be outdated. It's probably going to get really slow. And that's when it's probably going to be time for OnePlus 3.
Yeah. Let me get your opinion on something, because I've asked just about every colleague that I associate with on YouTube, so I want to get your opinions on this. All right. So in 2 days, in a day and a half actually now, I guess you would say, we're looking at an event. And what's your thoughts, Pixel XL?
My thoughts right now, and this is the thought I've had ever since the leaks came out, why change the name? Why? Just call it a Nexus. I think the reason why is because the next Nexus would be a Nexus 7. The Nexus 7 is a tablet.
Yeah.
But I used to be big on Nexus. I never owned a Nexus, but I used to be big on Nexus back in the day. Back in the Nexus 4 and Nexus 5 days. I haven't really followed it since the 6.
Right.
My thoughts are, I really don't have good opinions for it. My opinions are mainly negative. A few things. They're going to charge what they've done with the Nexus 6P and the Nexus 6. They're going to charge a premium price for it. Yes, I know the Nexuses have been premium ever since the 6. I mean, metal builds, large, bright displays. Even the Nexus 6P, it doesn't have the best camera, but it's greatly improved than its predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't. That's not what the Nexus brand, or Pixel, as I should say. That's not what the Pixel brand / Nexus is. Affordable price for good hardware. You remember the Nexus 5. I still love that phone. That phone's old now, but I still love it. That phone only cost, what, wasn't it $349? unlocked from Google.
I think so.
It didn't have a metal build. Not really any phones back then didn't have metal builds, but I mean, it didn't have the high quality build. I mean, there was no micro SD slot, which was still a big thing back then. I mean, it didn't have the best display, but it ran pure stock Android, which that's still a big thing today. And it was really fast and smooth with the Snapdragon 800, of course. But the Pixel line and the Nexus line has the like user base. I mean, it's still the same, but it's diminishing because the Google wants to charge a premium price for something that probably is not going to even touch the Galaxy Note 7 in terms of performance and features and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So price is the number one issue. Next one is HTC. As you know, the last HTC phone that I actually thought was good was the HTC One M8.
Yeah.
So here in recent years, the HTC brand has gone down the drain. And after the what was that one tablet called that they made? The Nexus 9. After the whole Nexus 9 debacle,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of has me scared in terms like of quality of the phones. But the HTC One M9 and the HTC 10, yes, the M9 was horrible. They are well-built phones. So
Right.
hopefully they take that, what they used with the M9 and the 10, even the A9,
Yeah.
and apply it to the Pixel brand. Who knows? Yes, it could be HTC, but sometimes things change up because you remember the Huawei executives said they were building the next Nexus.
Right.
I don't know how true that is. So
I don't know. We could. I mean, that's one thing that I kind of keep in the back of my head, just out of possibilities. Because I feel like with this launch of the Pixel and Pixel XL, and given a few months, if it doesn't do what Google thought it was going to do, then the Nexus is a fallback, right?
yeah,
Bring out another Nexus, and that should calm every angry Android fanboy out there. So I still think that there is a Nexus in the works. I could be wrong, but I still think it's there. I just think it just depends on how the Pixel is received, if it's received well or not.
here recently with Aloe and Duo, and I know your opinions on it, and I had different opinions. I personally, Duo is a good concept. I don't like Aloe. That's the thing. Aloe was kind of, rushed out. But like you said in your video, I mean, with updates, it will take time to make it better, especially with Google Assistant. Google Assistant is the main, I want to say it's the main hub around all the Google services now.
Yeah.
And it will be even more in the future. And right now, Google Assistant really isn't, in its prime. I mean, but everybody said that about Google Now. Look at Google Now. So I think we'll get better with time, but as much as the Pixel, like when it comes to the Pixel and the Pixel XL, when it releases, everybody's not going to like it. But once it actually, everybody has a few months with it, people start to like it. I mean, the Nexus 6P leaks. You remember when everybody was calling the Nexus 6P the top of the phone a barcode scanner?
Yeah.
That is probably the most loved phone now, and that's probably my favorite Nexus out of all of them. I thought Huawei, it's a well-known company, but in terms of like quality devices, not really, up there. But when they brought out the Nexus 6P, and now since it's been out for a year, I think it's everybody's favorite Nexus now. I mean, the phone's beautiful, it's fast. I mean, beautiful display. So it's probably going to end up like that. I hope it does.
I think it
But
will.
people are freaking out that it's HTC, which I wouldn't take that to heart yet. Yeah.
I
So
see. I see more people just more concerned about the name than like actually what this device is going to bring. That's mainly what I read about every time when people do have like a negative comment. It usually starts off with the name, like how the name is too feminine, or they just can't fathom saying it to somebody. Like, what kind of phone do you have? They would be the type to be ashamed to say it's a Pixel. Like, it just sounds. Everyone complains about that. I'm like, it's just a name. You don't really have to call it a Pixel in public. If you have one and someone's like, hey, what phone is that? You could be like, oh, it's a G phone or it's a Google phone. Play dumb with it if you're too embarrassed to say the name Pixel.
I am probably still gonna call it a Nexus. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna call it the HTC Nexus and the HTC Nexus XL. So, but I can't really do that because, well, not everybody remembers the HTC Nexus One. So, I probably can still call and they'd be like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what I see mostly about. Like, I don't really see anyone really like putting up a long, maybe educated thought as to why maybe the phone would not be that good. It's always the name, and I'm like, the name really shouldn't stand for anything, but try and look past the name and actually look at what it brings to the table. I mean, that's where it's all going to boil down to when you use the phone and how is it going to behave while you're using it.
And that's the exact thing I want to talk about right there. I think, and the only reason why I say this is because their phone brand is more important than their tablet brand. I think HTC is going to knock it out of the park. The name, yes, it worries me because HTC has been in a decline for the past 2.5 years. But I think they are going to hit it out of the ballpark with the phone, the Pixel and the Pixel XL, for the simple fact is that the Nexus or Pixel brand is their bread and butter. I mean, Google doesn't have to have their own phone because, they make their money off of ads.
Right.
But most OEMs, even Apple, and Apple's the prime example, the iPhone is their bread and butter. iPad sales don't even touch iPhone sales. They want to make sure every iPhone is perfect. They want to do that with the iPad too, but they focus more on the iPhone. There's more failures with the iPad than there is the iPhone. I mean, let's face it. Both really don't have many failures, but in terms, maybe like firmware failures or I guess battery failures, you see more numbers on the iPad than the iPhone. No one really covers it because, like I said, the iPad's not really that popular as it once was years ago.
Uh-huh.
But that. So when they brought out the Nexus 9, when Google brought out the Nexus 9 with HTC, I don't think they tried their best with the tablet, and that's why I had so many problems that it did. I mean, with the whole, like, the back, where you could push the back in, and then the tablet overheating and stuff like that, and the crappy speakers. So, I think I honestly think it's just going to be a rebadged HTC 10 despite all the leaks of the phone, because to me, those phones don't look realistic in the leaks. They look like toys. So I think it's going to be an either rebadged HTC 10 or at least a slightly remodeled, just like Huawei did with the 6P. I think their 6P looked like one of their other phones. So, yeah. I think they're going to try the hardest with the Nexus because, there's only one Nexus or two Nexuses now every year. So if they don't get it right the first time, they better fix it in the months after release.
All right.
That's my opinions on
Well,
the Pixel.
let me see if I can get your opinion about another topic that I've just been kind of like shocked and a little excited about. Andromeda.
I actually haven't researched that. I
Really?
heard about it. I saw it in the comments in our chat. I
Yeah.
looked it up and I saw it was supposed to be a mixture between Chrome OS or what is it called? Yeah, it's called Chrome OS, I think,
Yeah.
and Android.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact: Chromebooks are actually selling more than MacBooks right now, which doesn't surprise me because MacBooks have been in the decline since really the iPad. I
Yeah.
mean, no one really wants a MacBook anymore. Let's be honest. But I think it will help the Chrome book or the Chrome OS out a bunch, or the Andromeda out, but for the simple fact is that web apps on Chrome OS have always been the operating system's weak point. I mean, we now live in a world where actual like functioning apps are pretty much our bread and butter for a smartphone or even a computer. I mean, Windows 10, you see that they have an app store up there now compared to Windows 7.
Right.
So, I mean, it'll help out the operating system, but they need to optimize it. They can't just slap Android with Chrome OS and call it a day. They need to optimize it. And that's going to be the downfall of Andromeda because knowing Google, they're just going to bring it out and try to put smartphone based apps on a computer. It's not going to work well. And it's going to be horrible from the start, but they'll fix it.
I'm gonna knock on wood and say it's and hope that they actually are smart about it because like their idea for to doing this basically is to kind of go up against Windows and go up against the MacBook because like let's face it, like I own a Chromebook. That's what I'm using right now to broadcast from. I do everything from my Chromebook, but it does lack things that I still require a Windows laptop for. And their idea of kind of bringing in like Android and Chrome OS together. I mean, there are some Chromebooks now that have Android apps that are compatible to install onto it, but this is going to go like the full ways of doing it. I'm just hoping that I agree with exactly what you said. I hope this is not a thing where they merge the two together, come up with this operating system that looks good, but just the functionality is just like not there. The optimization is just horrible, and it was just like a quick put it together and throw it out type of thing. Like I hope they actually take some time with this.
They need to buy, I think the company's name Jive. You've heard of Remix OS, right?
Yeah.
They need to hire them or buy them out so they can have experience. Because if you've ever used Remix OS, it's still Android on a computer, but it's matured since its original inception, and I think it's actually pretty much usable as a full operating system now. I mean, yes, it uses Android apps, but I think I think it's usable as an everyday operating system, not for business type things, but more like at home. So the Google Plus website is probably going to be a prime example of how Andromeda is going to be. The Google Plus site on the computer.
Yeah.
Because in the back of my mind, it's like Google's going to optimize it. Google's going to optimize it. They're going to make everything work with Android apps on a computer. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you really can't count on Google showing their history with Android. So I hope they'll do good. But at the same time, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm going to try it out. Hopefully, you can run it on every Windows computer just like you can with Remix OS. So,
Well, let's see, because I know it's supposed to launch on the Pixel 3. That's the actual hardware that's going to house Andromeda first is the Pixel 3. So I'm kind of interested in that.
oh, I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to launch or anything. I thought it was just like a testing thing for Chromebooks.
Oh no, they're testing the operating system out now, and it has a release to come out in quarter 3 of 2017. So it's got a good ways to go before we actually see it.
Oh,
But
then
yeah,
that's good. If it's going to take that long, because it gives them time to actually work on it.
yeah. That's the beauty of it. That's what I said. Like, hopefully, it's not just let's splash this together and that together, and I think the UI looks great. Okay, send it out now, type of thing. Like, I really hope they take the time to craft this operating system from ground up, and just make it as best as possible and as functional as possible, and kind of really do give Windows and what's Apple's software for their laptops with the OS X.
Yeah, I still call it OS 10, but they changed the name to Mac OS.
Yeah, Mac OS. So yeah, hopefully it gives it can give a run for their money. But also my fear is that this whole idea of theirs is a little bit too late.
Yeah, it's late in the game. I mean, the competition has already been set. Like really it's Apple or it's Windows versus Mac OS. And of course, Windows in every single way, 100% whoops Mac OS because the Mac itself has been in decline. Like I said, ever really since the iPad, because computers aren't really. Our smartphones can do everything computers can. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's always nice to use a computer because computers can still do things that smartphones can't, but not everybody does computer things anymore, like computer only things anymore, unless you're in a business. So, they're a little late in the game, but I think they can pick up some traction. I think they can still, make it from competition because Windows 10 is still not perfect. I will be the first one to tell you that. The Xbox One runs Windows 10 and my computer runs Windows 10. They're both pretty horrible in terms of speed. So, and functionality. I mean, it's good to use, but Windows 10 still has a long ways to go. So, it might just be my hardware, but in my personal experience, Windows 10 is still glitchy on both. So, I think hopefully security on Andromeda is going to be really good because Android hasn't matured in terms of security.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole bunch of hacking. There's still hackings and stuff going on, but there's not much of it like it was years ago. So it's going to take them some time to come out with it, but hopefully it's perfect. Hopefully they make it perfect.
Yeah, I hope to take their time on it too, but then hopefully also it catches by developers too, because I mean, well, when it comes to like ROMing, I mean you already know how it is, right? Like 9 times out of 10 you're gonna need a Windows laptop to do it. There's some instances where you're able to kind of just rely on a smartphone to completely do it, like Samsung, they had their mobile Odin, where you could do everything from the phone. You wouldn't really need like a laptop to flash the ROM on there or anything or switch up radios or anything like that. So, but when it comes down to like ROMing, usually you got to depend on Mac OS or you depend on Windows to really get that going. And so hopefully with Andromeda, hopefully developers who build like Flash tools and things like that will build for that OS as well.
Yeah, I think I think it will. They'll put I think it's like Android Studio or Android Toolkit or something up there, and hopefully they make that. Probably they market that. See, roaming's not as big as it once was 5 years ago because now, like I said, the operating systems have matured so much that now all these features and stuff that you can only get by roaming or jailbreaking your phone is already baked into the operating system. I mean, look at iOS 10. I think iOS 10 is the perfect example of that. There has been like tons of jailbreak tweaks, like in terms of like UI. There were tons of jailbreak tweaks I can make on like iOS 9 and iOS 8, make it look like how iOS 10 looks now. So, but hopefully they market that and say it's easy to unlock the bootloader on your phone or something by using Andromeda versus Windows where you gotta go through all these steps and stuff.
Yeah, I hope so too.
They need to market it. That's the thing. That's the problem. But the reason why Google will not market it is because I'm going to honestly tell you the truth. They don't give a two craps about Android. And the only reason why I say that is because that's not where the money comes from.
Right.
That is not where money comes from. It comes from their ads. That's why Android is free and open source.
Yeah.
iOS is Apple's bread and butter. If anything happens to iOS, they're screwed. Yes, they still have the Mac, but the Mac isn't as popular as it was 20 years ago. So that's my opinions on it.
I get you on that one. So, that's like, I don't know. There's like more things that's supposed to come October 4th. I am not too sure. We got a question here. Do you think Siri, wait, I don't say Siri, sir, that iOS will be open like Samsung manufacturers the phone, but it comes with iOS, and if so, would you use it? I don't think Apple will entrust any other manufacturing company with their software. That's me thinking out loud here.
Nope, nope, nope. They will not. They will never do that. I honestly thought about an iPhone running Android, see if they would ever allow iPhone running Android, but really ever since the iPhone 6, they've proven that that will never happen because especially with the whole terrorist attacks, whether it was at San Bernardino or something like that. Ever
Uh-huh.
since that happened, Tim Cook, Apple CEO, has really came out and said like that security is our number one priority. I'm not saying Android isn't secure, but it's open source. You can do a lot more with the Android operating system compared to iOS. It's more restricted,
Right.
which is a pro and a con. If you're a guy that loves to customize your phone and do whatever you want with it, Android is the place to go. I've since grown out of that, but I still love to root and ROM. Like, if I root my phone, when I root and ROM my phone, I don't go customizing my home screen. I leave it the way it is. I just download Nova Launcher, to be honest, and just leave the icons in the same spot. But that Android's the way to go if you want to customize root and ROM and stuff like that. Exposed installer, which no one uses anymore. But if you are more of the, I'm not going to sit here and mess around with my home screen and just, text and call and just use apps and stuff like that, iOS is the way to go. I mean, if you're simple, iOS is the way to go. I'm a little bit of both. So that's why I have my OnePlus One and my iPhone 6. So,
I get it.
but the iPhone or the with Android being open source, really Apple does not want anything to do with any other operating system. I mean, I hate to say it, I would love to see an iPhone run an Android one day or an Android phone run an iOS, but it's just never going to happen.
Right. It's actually, I mean, I don't know. It kind of goes down to, I don't know if you remember when a lot of tech bloggers used to talk about this story, and I don't think they ever really put it out there to say like if it was like absolute true or not. But there was at one point where people were saying that during the time where Steve Jobs took what was it, both the guys from Google under his wing, that there was this idea that Apple would make the iPhone, and Android was initially going to be what was running on the iPhone until both Google and Apple had a fallout. I don't know if you remember that story, but
I
I
don't. That sounds like really much 2007-ish, 8-ish type stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. Um, if that was the case, let's say it was the case. Let's say like there's actual documentation to prove that. So Android was actually going to run on the iPhone, but they had their fallout. Okay, so like Android pretty much has grown to what it is now, and iOS and Apple has grown to what it is now. So even then, they both have grown so big that it's nearly like at a point of like why even do it to even try and put like Android on an iPhone. They're both too big in their respective fields. I mean, I know they're both mobile operating systems, they're both driving towards the same goal, and they kind of bounce off each other to continue the innovation to move forward. It would just be like if Apple did that to them, it would be like admitting defeat, and they don't want to. They're not in the game to admit defeat to anything, regardless. Like Apple has always, even if people have called them out on their when they say like they revolutionized this or they were the first to do this, it don't matter. You'll never change their opinion to that because that's Apple's marketing. They're geniuses at it. And one thing they will not do is say that they're wrong.
and that's the thing. I'll be the first to admit I like I said here recently. I've been a huge Apple fanboy, but Apple is not superior in any way in terms of specifications like processor and RAM. No, they're jokes in terms of that. I mean, you remember the pictures when the iPhone 6 came out? iPhone Welcome to 2012.
Uh-huh.
I honestly took that consideration. I was like, the specs, yeah, they're like 2012ish, but the optimization is where it really runs laps around all these Android phones. I don't know if you watch Apple keynotes. I've been watching really every Apple keynote since the 5S, but it's you know how they make jokes about Android on the stage, like no need for take your phone, or like no need for going around bump your phones back to back. I
Huh.
remember when they made that thing, when they made that in the keynote, and I think it was like 2012 with
Yeah.
the 5. But if you notice, and another thing Tim Cook would do, formerly Steve Jobs, I think Steve Jobs would do this too, is they would compare like the OS, because you know how Android's fragmented. So I honestly gotta say that.
Yeah.
But they would compare, like they would go on stage and compare how many iPhones have the latest iOS version versus Android. They really don't even do that anymore. And the reason why, in my opinion, is because the operating systems have grown so much to be alike in many ways that it's not even really comparable anymore. Yes, every once in a while you might have something that the iPhone has. Like you might have an app that the iPhone has and the Android phone does not have it, but the Android phone will eventually get it. Ex- like nothing's exclusive anymore. Also, I
Right.
mean, there's this new Mario game coming out on the iPhone. I think it's already out. I guarantee you, in about 4 months, Android will have it.
Yeah, it's coming to Android in a few months. The
Yeah,
Super Mario Run.
yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah.
Android will have it.
Yeah. Got a
So
question here. Got another question from Jay. He's asking both of us. He goes, "Here's a question for both of you. Do you think Samsung can recover from their explosive sales, or do you think, in a way, they have doomed themselves?"
you want to answer that first, or you want me to answer it?
I'll let you go first.
That has not affected Samsung in any way at all, in my opinion. Samsung's too big to fail right now, just like Apple. If there were iPhone 7s exploding right now, every, well, actually, I think it would hurt Apple for the simple fact that they're a more popular brand.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still too big to fail. Actually, that's not even really the case, but yeah, they're still too big to fail in many people's eyes, but they're still the more popular brand. So it will hurt them, but not to the point to where they're really like losing tons and tons of money. But for Samsung, not a lot of people have the Galaxy Note. Everybody has the Galaxy S phones. This is the thing you got to remember. More people have Galaxy S phones than they do Note phones, because the Galaxy S series is more practical in terms of, like handling the phone. It's not as big as the Note 7. It's
Right.
just more popular. So in terms of the Note line, I'm glad it was the Note phones that were exploding, because that's not going to hurt Samsung in any way. I mean, Samsung, the good thing is that Samsung recalled the phone shortly after its release.
Right.
That's key. That's the key one thing right there. If it was HTC, they still wouldn't have recalled the phone. That's my opinion. So they recalled it shortly after its release, and they came out with a statement saying if you can check what Galaxy Note 7 you have by the battery icon. The new ones, the revised ones have the green batteries, and the ones that are prone to exploding have the typical
It was
white
gray.
Android batteries. Yeah,
Yeah, the gray one. Yeah.
yeah, the gray batteries. So my opinion, it's not going to hurt Samsung. They're not doomed forever. They'll just come out with the Galaxy Note 8, and it's going to, of course, they're going to make sure that one does not explode.
Yeah, they
So,
never actually really said like exactly what is at fault for it. Um, I see tons of people talking about it. Like the revised Note 7, what they basically did was kind of like put a cap where it really doesn't charge beyond 60%, even though it says 100% on the device. I mean, there's people talking about that. They're like, I don't know. When it comes to the Note 7 and all the explosions, I mean, for how many cases there are out there, and like you said about Samsung, like they're too big to fail, and really it's not really going to deter sales. I mean, we have the memes popping up on social media and left and right. I think they're kind of funny, some of the memes, but also you know Samsung is just is they're synonymous with Android. For the longest time, when people looked at a Samsung, they immediately thought Android. They didn't think anything else. So if you had like an HTC phone, you really like had to explain to them that Android is an operating system that runs on different phones and not just the Galaxy S series. Because the S series was just big.
It's still huge. I mean, it's still bigger than the Note line.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
always
agree.
and since the Galaxy Note 2, I always knew it was going to be that way.
Yeah.
Galaxy Note 2 was a beast of a phone, but I'm sitting here like, there's more Galaxy S3. There's tons more Galaxy S3 selling than the Note 2. And the same thing with the Galaxy S4 and the Note 3. The same thing with the Galaxy Note 4 and the S5. I mean, it's just the S line is where it's at, and the S line is not prone to exploding.
Right. Yeah, I've seen. Have you seen the meme? I wish I had freaking like took like a screenshot of it. But when the whole issue of the Note 7 exploding and like them telling people to the recall and all that, so people were making up all these different memes about the battery exploding, and one of them showed a phone that was supposed to be called the Note 6, kind of like rigging a Note 7 to explode, as to say like this is what you get for skipping the 6. That
I
was
haven't saw that, but it already sounds funny.
that is so jacked up to put it that way.
This is what happens when you skip the 6. Boom.
Yeah, like I was like, wow, there's no boundaries when it comes to people and memes, man. Memes is like this generation's way of expressions.
By the time the Galaxy Note 8 comes out, it will all blow over. No one's going to even remember that the Galaxy Note 7's exploded. And
Yeah,
that's just how it is with top tier OEMs.
yeah, it's the same thing like with what was it, the Apple 6 Plus and Bengate. Remember how everyone
Yeah,
just went on
Bengate.
that?
Yeah,
And
no one even talks about it. It was a huge thing when the iPhone 6 Plus was brand new. No
yeah,
one even talks about that anymore. So, like I said, too big to fail. Too big to fail.
yeah, it's not gonna hurt Samsung. They'll be all right. Even like with the rumors of them releasing like the S8 early. I mean, that's kind of like an apology right there. But it's not like they're releasing the S8 like way too early. I mean, it's not coming out at the end of this year. It's still coming out in 2017, just not when they usually release an S device. So
Yeah. Normally they release it in March to April, and then when it comes to the Note line, it's more like August and
yeah,
September.
yeah,
So, and that's one thing I don't like about OEMs, but it's good for competition, is that every manufacturer releases a phone at a different time. I mean, HTC is known more towards the summer. LG is around the HTC time. Samsung with their S line is more towards uh
spring.
yes, towards spring, and Apple is more towards the fall. So every month or every phone is always a couple months behind. Like between Samsung and Apple, it's a 6 month difference.
Right.
Apple is always 6 months behind in terms of technology and stuff, because by the time the Galaxy S8 comes out, we're still going to be at the iPhone 7, and it's going to be like, well, this phone feels old and it's already prehistoric, which is not really the case, because I still consider the iPhone 6 a really good phone to buy. A lot of people won't because what year it came out in, but I mean, it gets the job done. So, uh, hopefully, the Galaxy S8 actually fixes those problems. But like I said, not a lot of people use the Note, and it's not going to hurt Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung will be just fine. I mean, the one company that I feel that really needs to make some sort of bounce back is HTC. Like I feel for them real bad. I mean the 10 was good, but it didn't have the wow. Even when they decided to kind of cut out a lot of HTC bloatware, it wasn't a wow to people. And then right now they got which device is coming out right now from HTC? That
I think it's like the X10 or something like that, or I don't know.
I don't remember because I know like the A9, which was supposed to be like a mid range.
I called it an iPhone 6 clone because, honestly, in my opinion, that's what it was.
Yeah, they have another one coming out. Oh wait, it's the Desire 10 Pro and Lifestyle. Those
Oh
two.
yeah, I looked at the Desire 10 Lifestyle, and it actually looks. I think it's the Desire 10 Lifestyle I looked at, and it actually looked premium to me.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, with all the hype kind of starting to build behind it, which is, of course, HTC hype is not as big as Samsung or LG's, but still, hopefully that could be like the pivot point where HTC says no more and starts to climb up. Because HTC's, they've been really good back in the day, with their Evo line, and
Everybody had the Evo, dude.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was like, when I got the Evo 3D on Virgin Mobile, I was like ecstatically happy with it. It was
I
great.
was too. It's just the main gripe was the 4G WiMAX. Oh my gosh, WiMAX was garbage.
Sprint's mistake. They took a left turn instead of a right turn.
Oh my gosh, WiMAX was garbage. But besides that, it was the battery. The battery wasn't necessarily bad. It's just when you try to use that 3D camera, oh, took a toll on the battery.
Yeah, it killed it off. That's one of those features that I feel that could have been something good marketed right, and if enough people used it. Without enough people using the 3D feature, it fell off wayside.
But I call that the pioneer of dual cameras. And not a lot of people really knew about the Evo 3D back then.
Yeah.
But like you said, the dual cameras, it wasn't used for the same purpose that dual cameras are today. It was a 3D camera, but
Yeah, just imagine if it did. Just imagine if that Evo 3D, you could, besides using it for 3D shots, you could use it for what most dual cameras today are.
back then it would have been ahead of its time. Just like the Edge display. You remember when a couple years ago when Samsung tried to do that and it was ahead of its time, no one wanted it, but now the Galaxy S7 Edge, for example,
Right.
one of the best selling Samsung phones. So but just like I said, back in 2013, everybody was like, what the hell's this? This is we don't want this. Who's gonna use this?" But now it's like the talk of the day.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of crazy. But I've always said this too. Like, besides the Desire line, I honestly think that HTC should resurrect the Evo line. Honestly, like,
nah.
I think so. I think they should resurrect it. That could be something that could actually help them out. The Evo was a trusted line. It kind of like coincides with the same sense as Nexus and Pixel, right? Like, everyone trusts the Nexus. The Pixel just seems so weird. Nexus is synonymous with Google, so people kind of love that Nexus name. And the same way, it's like 9 times out of 10 when I talk with someone about an HTC device and I mention Evo, I get the same response, like, "Oh yeah, the Evo, yeah, those were solid phones back in the day." It's like the name Evo could kind of help them with their marketing. Like, their whole naming process is just too weird. The M8, well, the M7, M8, M9, then they drop the M and just go 10, and then the A9, and their names is here, there, and everywhere. It's kind of hard to follow along with HTC when you don't really keep a name that is a brand.
It sticks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It has to do with naming also. Everybody says iPhone. Oh, I have one too. But if they name it the A phone or the B phone, it's gonna be like, well, do I buy
Yeah.
it? So
Yeah, that's what they would help HTC out. But besides the naming scheme, they really can't drop the ball anymore when it comes to it. Like,
if the next flagship HTC phone they call it the HTC Evo, I was about to say HTC Evo 4G LTE, but that was actually the last Evo phone ever produced, which
yeah.
was my favorite. It came with Sense 4.0. I remember when I wanted Sense 4.0 on my Evo 3D, but it only ran 3.6. But which was like a watered down version of Sense 4.0 because the hardware wasn't capable. I guess it wasn't capable of running the I think it was Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich that came with Sense 4.0. But it if they came out with like the HTC Evo 10 or HTC Evo 11, I think it being Evo, especially since it was a big Sprint phone. See, Sprint, I blame Sprint also because Sprint isn't where it used to be back when HTC was on top. Sprint, I mean, was yes, Verizon AT&T has always been the number one and number two carrier. But you remember back then, T-Mobile before John Legere or whatever,
Yeah.
however you explain his name, but before he came to T-Mobile, T-Mobile was in Sprint shoes.
Yeah.
If it wasn't AT&T and Verizon, it was Sprint. And even the HTC Evo at one point was bigger than the iPhone on Sprint. I mean, that's how popular the Evo was.
Yeah.
And if they bring that back and put it on all four carriers, I think it wouldn't get them back in to the number one spot like how Samsung is right now, but it would, pick up the sales.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Sprint to me, I think, Dan Hess couldn't save them. And now this new guy, I mean, yeah, he's making strides, but I think Sprint's downfall right now is like, up till recently they kind of did away with the leasing program. And it was like it was one of those things where when you promise your consumers something and then you take it back, you kind of ruin the reputation of your company because like last year they were saying that they were going to go to lease phones, they were not going to go back to contracts, and they promised their consumers that, and then just a month ago they took away the option to lease an Android phone. Like you can still lease an iPhone, but Android phones you can't lease anymore. So they're back to your contracts again, I believe.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think this guy's name is like Marcelo or something like that.
Yeah.
Ever since he took over the company, Sprint's been in the downfall. And another problem with this Sprint is their network.
Yeah.
T-Mobile has passed them in terms of coverage. And you remember back in the day before John Legere joined T-Mobile, that it used to be vice versa. Sprint used to be the one. I mean, the Sprint coverage never used to be good, but Sprint used to be the one that had tons more coverage than T-Mobile. You couldn't really get T-Mobile anywhere.
Yeah, they've definitely they didn't just double their network, they went beyond, and that's another thing too. Is like that. I mean, that's two complaints that I hear from everyone that's ever had Sprint. Is one is their network coverage, like when is it going to expand, and when are they going to get up to date with their network? Like this whole Spark LTE, it's fast. I've seen people put up results of like their network speeds, but the rollout to the cities is like sluggishly slow.
And the rollout has been in effect since the Desire 601 days. So
Yeah, years ago. Like,
that phone came out. I remember when I wanted that phone too. That phone, the Spark has been out. I think the Galaxy S3 is compatible. Yes, no, it's not. It's the Galaxy S4. The Galaxy S4 came out in 2013. I think that was around the time that they came out with Spark.
yeah.
And when they brought out Sprint Spark, it was only in major cities like New York City or Los Angeles or Miami and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or in like Phoenix, Arizona or Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, Phoenix was late to get it. Phoenix got it like, was it last year?
Yeah, but I've seen results of Sprint Spark, and like you said, it's incredible. It's actually mind blowing. But you can barely get it.
Yeah.
You can barely pick up coverage from it. If you're not on Sprint Spark, you're on Sprint's old 4G LTE network, which everybody knows, even on their regular 4G LTE, it's not really even that fast. That's why I got rid of the Virgin Mobile brand, which, runs on Sprint, but, restricts some of the towers and some of the speeds. I understood that when I left, but that's why I left. Coverage and the speed. It was annoying to do. And another thing is I cannot do CDMA. Older CDMA phones like the Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy Victor I had did not take SIM cards, which means I couldn't like exchange them for a new phone.
All right.
I would have to directly buy the phone from Virgin Mobile. And that's one thing that was a deal breaker for me. So newer CDMA phones, they make them to where you can unlock them, but you still have to go through the carrier and stuff, which isn't a big deal, but the last Virgin Mobile phone I had was a Galaxy S3, so after that, I went to Cricket.
Virgin is actually coming on a comeback, though, but this is like one of those things where like I feel it doesn't matter what Sprint says, because I know Sprint put it out like 4 months ago. They're like they're gonna revamp Virgin Mobile. It's gonna come back better than ever than before. They're gonna put some time and focus into it. They remarketed the whole thing. They moved their whole base operation to a new location. I was like, okay, cool. Like finally, Virgin Mobile's finally not gonna be like the redheaded stepchild to Sprint. It's not gonna take a backseat to Boost Mobile. And I was thinking to myself like, but this is Sprint we're talking about. And while they do make some changes, the changes come a little too late. And I was actually right about it, because if you look at Virgin Mobile's new plans, they seem good for what they are. If they were to compete with Boost Mobile and how Boost had the 35, 45, and 55 plan, you looked at Virgin Mobile, that would have been like, yeah, hell yeah, I would have went back to Virgin Mobile, because the $35 plan on Virgin Mobile now gives you 5 gigs of LTE, and then the 45 gives you 10.
What?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. I've been missing out. Back when I was on Virgin Mobile, I think I had the 35. And it gave, because you remember that at that time, um, they had two 35s, two 45s, and two 55s. You had the original 35, 45, and 55, which gave you the minutes, but you can also get the other plan, the other 35, 45, and 55 that gave you unlimited, but it really only gave you like 500 megabytes of high-speed data, which was like hilarious for 2014 and 15. That
yeah,
was like
25
one of the
on
reasons why
Facebook
I
would kill
left.
it. Yeah,
So, but I think what needs to happen is, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I only say it because Virgin Mobile is not just like its own company. You know, Virgin itself is an airline. All right, they have airlines. They run a music business and stuff like that.
yeah,
But what they need to do at Virgin Mobile USA is they need to merge it into Boost Mobile. They just need to
yeah,
go ahead and close it down and merge everything to Boost Mobile, because Boost Mobile, surprisingly, a lot of people have it still, and it's
right.
really popular. And I think it's even more popular than Sprint. I'm just saying.
It is, actually, it is.
And it's Sprint's MVNO. So
I felt for the longest time they should do that, because that's like one of the things I think that irritates people too. Is like, say there's like a phone that's exclusive to Virgin Mobile, someone wants it and they're on Boost Mobile. Like, it's always the same question asked. It's like, why can't I just buy this on Virgin Mobile and activate it on Boost Mobile? I'm still within the same company. The money's all going to Sprint and SoftBank. Why can't I do it? And it's like, that is like probably my only gripe with Boost today. Like, their network coverage where I'm at is excellent, so I see no reason for me to leave them. But I hate their service in the sense that if I want to go buy an unlocked device, I can't just put it up on there. Like, the only ones they'll accept is certain Sprint devices. They will unlock, like the Notes, I think the Note 2, 3, and 4. They'll allow it on Boost Mobile. But it's like, what if I want a Nexus? Like say I get like a Nexus 6 that was for Sprint. Why can't I put that on there? These things really, that's my main gripe with Boost Mobile. It's like, give your customers what they want. Allow them to add unlocked devices. I mean, I know CDMA is so totally different from GSM, but
yeah,
there are hybrids. You know,
and I don't blame it on CDMA or GSM anymore, because, like I said, most phones, whether it's a budget phone or a $700 phone, they come unlocked either way, whether it's CDMA or GSM, because most of these smartphones now on CDMA, the SIM cards are only for 4G LTE, but you still need them for the phone to be activated.
yeah,
See, that's where it got smart. I think the reason why is because Virgin Mobile started doing this too, especially with the newer phones like the iPhone 6 and the 5S. They, in their own little system or whatever that they actually have it to where only certain phones can take a certain SIM card by them.
yeah.
Like you said, what if you want a Nexus? Their SIM cards only work in a variety of phones, and I guess if you try to put a Boost Mobile SIM card inside of a Nexus 6P, which I don't know if I know Virgin started doing it with newer iPhones, but does Boost do it? Do the SIM cards now, or do they still do no SIM cards inside the phone? And you actually have to exchange the phone for a new one.
You talking about just swapping them out? Because if you swap them out, you still gotta have the MEID. Like, they don't just go.
Yeah,
Yeah, you still go by MEID.
yeah. So it's a new form, but still an old tactic that they're using. Virgin Mobile does the exact same thing. You still need the MEID. I remember that. Oh my gosh, that used to be a pain when I needed to get a replacement phone. But um, their own, like I said, their own system allows the SIM cards to only work in certain phones. And like you said with the MEID, you try to put a Boost Mobile SIM card inside of a Nexus 6P. It's simply the Nexus 6P is, or the SIM card is not going to read the Nexus 6P, and the Nexus 6P is going to be like, what do I do with this? and it's gonna say no service.
Actually, most of the SIM cards that's in Boost Mobile phones are all Sprint SIMs. So
Oh
that's
yeah, I noticed that with
that's
Virgin Mobile right before I left them. I started like watching YouTube videos and it would say Sprint on it.
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. Like there would actually really wouldn't be a problem activating a Nexus 6P onto Boost Mobile, other than the fact that the agent behind there can say no. Um, I mean, if you try to do it online, like do like a regular phone swap on your account, obviously the MEID is not on the list of devices that Boost Mobile authorizes. So of course it'll get flagged as soon as that MEID is ran if you try to do a phone swap. And that's my thing. Is like more people jump from Boost Mobile to Metro PCS or to Cricket, only for the simple fact that on Metro and Cricket they allow unlocked devices on their network. They just have to be compatible with their bands. So
And
Boost.
that's the thing. When I don't remember if you remember the old Cricket before AT&T bought them out.
Oh yeah.
That it used to be CDMA and the coverage they used. I think it was like Leaf Wireless or something like that. Leafy Wireless. I don't know.
Yeah.
But or no, it was Leap, not Leaf. Leap Wireless. And you remember it used to get no coverage, no 4G, no nothing like that. But once AT&T bought them out, their base grew.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. My brother's got Cricket.
and I think, like I said, I think the only reason why their base grew, one, their network, obviously, AT&T network is awesome in my opinion.
Yeah.
But another thing is the GSM. Literally, that's one thing that they market at Cricket is that you can bring any phone in, whether it's as long as it's unlocked, whether it's 4 years old or it's a brand new iPhone 7, you can bring it in, put a SIM card in it, and it will work. And that's one thing I do like about Cricket, that you can do that. And if you buy a new phone, or you already have a Cricket SIM, you don't even have to come in the store. You just pop it in the new phone, and the computer or their computers read that you swap the card in the new phone, and it will adapt to the new MEID number.
Yeah, we got a comment from Jake Wolf. He says Boost Mobile is the Verizon Wireless of the prepaid world.
The Verizon Wireless, nah, I give Boost Mobile a little bit more credit than that. Verizon prepaid is. I remember back when I was actually thinking about going to them before I went to Cricket, and I started looking at their plans and looking at the phones they had. And this wasn't too long ago because I only got Cricket at the October of last year, I want to say. And they still had the iPhone 4S up there as the only iPhone.
Yeah.
I have almost died laughing when I saw that. I'm sitting here like, you guys are selling the iPhone 4S, and they were charging for it too, because it's Verizon prepaid. You got to buy the phone outright and stuff like that. But it wasn't like a $50 phone like it probably costs now to buy. It was like, I think it was like $299. So, and this was for a fully unlocked iPhone 4S. This wasn't on contract. It was on prepaid. So I give Boost a little bit more credit than that. Yes, they don't get the brand new iPhone as soon as it comes out, but actually Boost and Version have gotten a lot better about doing that. Because I remember when the 5S came out, they only got it like a month after release, compared to when the iPhone 4S came out, they got it like at least a year and a half after its release.
Yeah.
So I give them credit. But yeah, I don't think they're close. I think Verizon prepaid's still a little bit worse.
Yeah, I think it's because Verizon really doesn't. They don't put a lot into their prepaid, and that's just because a lot of their postpaid customers are stuck into their postpaid, and one of the reasons is like what my dad does, and I feel bad for my dad because he like every time he wants to get a new phone, they have to buy outright. Because he's grandfathered on the unlimited plan with Verizon, he's not giving it up, which is smart. So they buy all their phones like either through Swappa or through Amazon. They swap it that way, and then that way they're not forced to change their plan and whatnot. But people that get the unlimited Verizon are pretty much on a deal because Verizon does have a pretty fast network, and if you have unlimited data, I mean, well, now you're not going to give it up.
I still think T-Mobile is the way to go. But the thing that's hindering them is their coverage. Their coverage, yes, it's greatly improved since, like I said, it's greatly improved since Jean Legier has entered the company, but their coverage is still not there yet. But the uncarrier events that they have and their new plans and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from a lot of people that have T-Mobile. Like they love their free Tuesdays.
And looking at people's benchmarks online in terms of their like data speeds, it actually looks pretty. I mean, it's no AT&T or Verizon, but it still looks pretty fast. It's
Yeah,
just the coverage. I know the last time I checked T-Mobile in the area I live in, it was literally a dead spot because their network, since their color is pink, the pinker the coverage map was, the more coverage you got. I was in a dead white zone, like literally. It was just a white zone, which meant no coverage. So I actually checked it. I want to say a couple weeks ago. It was light pink the last time I checked it, but that was like it was 4G LTE, but it was like partnered 4G LTE, so it would have been roaming, I guess you could
yeah.
say. So I think it would have been on AT&T's crap, and I don't want to pay no fees, and because you know how that goes.
Yeah, you could have hit up, because like John Ledger, there's a lot of things that people dislike about him. There's things that I dislike about him as far, but the one thing I'll give the man credit for is like, like I catch him broadcasting on Periscope. He interacts with his customers on Periscope, and there's people who'll say like, in my area there's no T-Mobile coverage, and he'll tell them email me, and he'll give out his email. And it's like, email me, give me an area where you're at, and I'll check it out. And not bullshitting anybody. A month later, the person who actually hit him up on Periscope and told him about no cover in his area was back on Periscope a month later talking about how they got towers up there. So, like, literally, John actually saw to it to put towers in that guy's area, thus giving them T-Mobile network coverage in their area, which was
Huh.
insane. That was insane.
Him just going on Periscope and interacting with customers is a shocker for me because Verizon CEO doesn't do that. AT&T CEO doesn't do that.
Yeah, John does that. That's one thing I give to him is that like he will interact with them, bring them in on his day to day, explain things that he's planning to do with the next uncarrier movement, and then on top of that, I mean, like he does a variety of things. Like he'll sit there and like he'll be like, all right, he'll be on Periscope, he'll have like 5 iPhones sitting in front of him. He'll be like, if you can find where I'm at, you can get one of these iPhones right now. And he's not bullshitting anybody because on the live broadcast, a person comes up that was watching him on Periscope and he hands them a brand new iPhone. I was like, what the? Like, he's really pulling T-Mobile out of the hole that they've been in for the longest time, which is why they're no longer interested. I mean, I hear that they're still, the parent companies are still interested in selling off T-Mobile, but they're not that fast of shopping a deal anymore, because the subscriber count is growing dramatically.
Oh yes, it's funny. I still cannot get used to saying this, but it's hard to say that Sprint is now the fourth. There is now number 4 in the carrier race
Yeah.
because Sprint always used to be the number 3, all the time. It used to go Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, but now I have trouble saying Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint because I mean it's crazy. I mean T-Mobile was in a hole for many, many, many years, and John Ledger dug them out of it. I mean, I honestly gotta say, I think I know more people with T-Mobile than I do with any other carrier. I mean,
Same
because
here.
it's so great.
Same here. Like my older sister and all her family, they're all on T-Mobile. But I
And I
thought,
can't.
I thought it was kind of interesting because I remember like on one of the Periscopes he was doing, he was talking about it, and people asked him like, um, about the whole deal where at one point Sprint was trying to buy T-Mobile, and John kind of turns it around and says, well, at this point, maybe Sprint would like to sell to us, and we'll save their customers from all their bullshit. I'm like, wow, that's a freaking bold move to say. But I think he was serious about it.
And I necessarily, I never used to like him honestly, but being on Virgin Mobile and Sprint, I used to back them 100% until their network started declining once they brought the new CEO, and then I was like, I can't deal with this bull crap anymore.
Yeah.
But I used to like really not like him for the simple fact that he would say stuff like that and I'm sitting here like that's not really professional for a CEO. But his tactics and his marketing, yes, he uses words that shouldn't be said on live TV, but hey, it's worked, and it's
Yeah,
dug. Like I said, it's dug them out of the hole that they were in.
yeah,
And like 5 years ago, I can't say I knew anyone that used T-Mobile. Actually, sometimes when people say, "Oh, I use T-Mobile," I used to laugh, but now I can't do that anymore.
yeah, they seriously outgrown it. I mean, like I said, for Sprint, I honestly think, I mean, because of course SoftBank is the parent company of the Sprint now. So I honestly think that SoftBank needs to consider tapping a new CEO in place of Marcelo and getting him out of there because and everything that he's done, downsizing, corporate offices and laying off employees to save some money. And obviously, we could tell that they needed to do that because in the last 2 years, when there was phones being released, and you know how the carriers they go and they bid for phones that they want. Sprint couldn't join in on that. They had no money to bid on anything to make sure it became a Sprint exclusive first. So,
We haven't seen any Sprint exclusives honestly since the Evos.
yeah,
So I mean, ever since HTC came out with the HTC One, what was it, like the HTC One X?
right,
No, I think the HTC One X was no, it wasn't a Sprint exclusive because they had a Verizon variant. Ever since they brought out the One X back in 2012, every HTC phone, Samsung phone, Apple iPhone, all of that used to be, or all that's on every carrier now. Which I mean, it sucks. But I don't remember. I don't know if you remember then. Back uh what year was it? 2013. That once a new phone came out, Sprint would be the last one to get it. Normally all carriers get phones around the same time, but like in terms of pre-orders and stuff, I mean, Sprint would be limited on those because they didn't have enough stock on it,
right.
which would suck because you would have the newest iPhone that came out and it would, I mean, there wouldn't be enough stock, and then they would all be sold out compared to the other carriers that still had stock left. So
Yeah, I say they're just, they really got to come up with a strategy, get a different CEO into Sprint, and really start thinking about the long haul game as well as your short goals, and kind of make sure that they match inside, and quit triple billing your customers because that I know that's still happening because I know a few friends of mine that still have Sprint postpaid, and sometimes their bill comes in incorrect, they're double charged or triple charged, and I don't see how they can't just. I mean, like, if their whole billing department sucks in mathematics, get rid of them and like hire people. And one of the hiring process is to have them take a freaking math quiz so they know. That would absolutely help it. If it's their system itself, if the system's auto generating bills and it's like doubling it, then get your IT team in there to fix that issue. It's not rocket science to fix the billing issue with Sprint, but
one
customer
plus
service,
one equals six.
I mean, stop outsourcing. And I'm not trying to be mean, but you know what? One of the biggest things that people have a hard time dealing with is call centers outsourced from the U.S. Like keep it
Yeah.
in home. Keep that stuff in home. And that because I mean it's been proven. With all these little surveys they do, that in the first 10 seconds of calling any company's customer service hotline or whatever, if the person sounds like that they're from India or from China, automatically the customer is already agitated.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like that sometimes. I called Cricket because they messed up my plan. Well, they didn't mess it up. It was kind of my fault, but my plan was, kind of altered a little bit and changed and stuff like that. But when I got on the phone, I and I feel bad for saying this, but like he sounded like he was from India, like you said. I couldn't understand what he was saying, and I had to keep repeating my phone number to him because he couldn't understand me. I'm sitting here like, are you serious right now? And but that's not just like Sprint. That's really any company in the United States. Microsoft, Apple. Well, no, I honestly want to say Apple's the only one that has their customer service here in the United States.
Yeah.
But companies like Microsoft, Cricket, AT&T, all that stuff, it's just all outside of US, all outsourced. So
Yeah. I don't know. I usually what happens is when I call customer service and I get someone with a thick accent that I feel is like not here in the U.S., I hang up and I just call back 611 until I get someone that can understand me. And it's not like I'm hating on them, but it's just I don't want to it makes for a bad experience because while I'm trying to communicate with them, I also could hear it through them. They get agitated when they can't understand me, and it's like,
that, and I think it's because the reason, if you've noticed, if you call someone with a thick accent, if you notice, they don't know, and I'm not trying to say they're dumb, which they're not, but they don't know as much as, say, someone with a English accent, because the person that probably trained them probably, or that they don't have enough training compared to the other people. And I think they use contracting, like they contract people. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
I think they do that, and then they don't train them well. And then, like, when you call customer service, they have no idea what to do, and it takes them 45 minutes to do a simple task. And I feel bad, but at the same time, it's the companies themselves that, like Sprint, for example, that are doing it. I honestly think right now Sprint needs another John Ledger. Ledger. I still
yeah,
have trouble pronouncing his last name, but
yeah.
another, if the CEO of T-Mobile made a duplicate of himself and summoned the Sprint, I think it will pull Sprint out of the hole that they're in now. Or there needs to be a merger. Merger might not be a good thing nowadays, especially with T-Mobile on the rise. But if you would have
Yeah.
asked me 2 years ago, I would have said yeah. So
We got a question here. Let's see, when can we use any Sprint phone on Boost Mobile? Honestly, Warren, that's really up to Sprint. I said it. You can actually use Galaxy Notes from Sprint on Boost Mobile. You just there's only certain ones that they will allow. So really, I couldn't tell you exactly. Sprint, they need to do a massive amount of changes besides allowing unlocked devices on their own internal devices should be opened up to any one of the three: Sprint, Boost Mobile, Virgin Mobile. That's the way I feel.
I've always felt that way since the moment I joined Merger Mobile to the day I left. It's like, why? I mean, not everybody wants a. I don't know if you remember the PCD Venture.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Not everybody wants a PCD Venture. Someone might want a iPhone 5. Well, that's back then when those phones were new, but still, maybe someone wants that, but they can't get it, or they have to wait months because it's not on Virgin Mobile era. It's not on Boost Mobile. Like I said, the MVNOs have gotten a lot better about that, but not every phone is on those two MVNOs, like the Galaxy Notes. I mean, you have to actually get that switch to Boost, or you have to bring it to Boost. It's not available to buy on the Boost website,
Right. Which
which
I think is
bothers me.
stupid. It's stupid how Boost Mobile put that out there. Like we activate non-Boost Mobile phones. Like you can get a Note, Note 3, a Note 4, and put it on Boost. But like, but you guys don't sell it through your outlet. You don't sell it in store. You don't sell it online. Like I have to go to swappa.com or eBay if I'm taking a risk and get one. Hopefully that it's not locked by a bill, and then call you guys to activate it. Like that's just ridiculous.
I mean, that's just a process. That's honestly going to take weeks,
Yeah.
which is crappy because even Cricket still being a prepaid carrier, I don't know if they have the Galaxy Note like 7 or anything, but I know they have the new Galaxy S, is like the S7 and the iPhone 6s and stuff like that. Those are fairly new phones, and they have really all the flagships.
Yeah.
Which I understand that Boost is in a different situation, seeing as it's an MVNO and it's actually under uh, a regular like top company, which is Sprint.
Yeah.
Which I think of Cricket more as its own carrier, even though it's under AT&T. For the simple fact is that AT&T treats Cricket like it's its own carrier. So I see the limitations there with Sprint and Boost Mobile, but like like I said and like you said, I shouldn't have to, or you shouldn't have to go to Swap or eBay and hope it's not locked by bill
Right.
just to wait 5 to 7 business day, or not even 5 to 7, 3 to 5, or depending on your shipping, just to be on the phone with Boost Mobile for 20, 30 minutes while they try to figure out how to activate it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a process. I should buy the phone, have it activated right there, all within an hour, and me walking out with satisfied. And that's how I was when I switched to Cricket when I had the 5S. They, I actually had a problem with it first because I had to update to iOS 9 back when iOS 9 was brand new. They had to update to iOS 9, and after that, they slid the SIM card in. I paid for my first month's bill, and I walked out. That took an hour. So it should be like that. It shouldn't be where that you have to actually have the phone ported. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, Boost Mobile and Sprint, man. They just need to listen to their customers because I mean, like, I'm not the only person that's saying it. You know, I don't get them. You know, they're so hard and even doing the biggest mistake like trying to copy T-Mobile and act like John Ledger. That's one thing that Marcelo should have never done from the get-go was try to act like him. I mean, you know, do your own thing. I mean, there's so much ideas that could have been done that could have saved Sprint or even just brought them back up or even just made it like a neck and neck race. I mean, right now it's not even a neck and neck race. It's just more of just people like finding that T-Mobile is better and jumping over, and it is.
I mean, the first thing that they need to do that's at least SoftBank, since they're the parent company of T-Mobile, or not T-Mobile, but Sprint, needs to do, get rid of Marcelo. He is a problem for Sprint. He's dug the hole. He hasn't started the hole of Sprint because Sprint's already been in the hole for, I mean, years and years. He's just dug the hole a lot deeper than what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So get rid of him. Bring in a new CEO. Bring in a new CEO that knows marketing, that knows how to bring the company back up.
Yeah, spend all the
That's
money
the
in the
main
right
thing.
places. That's what I say. They need a CEO that can spend the money in the right places and not all in the wrong places.
Yeah, and that's the thing with T-Mobile, marketing. Marketing is because literally every TV show I watch, there is at least one T-Mobile commercial. You don't see Sprint commercials, and when you see Sprint commercials, they're cheesy and corny. Some of them have actresses and actors in them, but they're
Desperate.
people that you really don't even know. So, I mean, T-Mobile, I think one time, yeah, T-Mobile had a Kim Kardashian commercial. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, stuff like that.
Well,
It's
have you seen Sprint's new one, which I think this is hurting them more than it is helping them, and it's not so much an attack to T-Mobile, it's an attack to Verizon because they have the old guy on Verizon and they used to be like, "Can you hear me now?" doing their commercials.
oh yeah, that's hurting them. And for the simple fact is that when he done it at Verizon, it actually helped. If he's doing that Sprint, it's like, oh, he's a traitor. He's going to a crappier network.
Yeah, and it's like, his popularity is already used in that sense. When I see him on there, it's like you're not
Dude,
doing Sprint any favors.
yeah, like, dude, you were cool like 6 years ago. Go away now.
It's pointless for them to even do that. Like their marketing is just horrible. Dan Hess when he used to do the commercials, and I didn't like his commercials because he always made it seem like it was like a very depressed ad, you know, with the black and white filter over the whole thing, and he would talk about Sprint, and it's just like, dude, you sound like you're pitching something for the ASPCA or something like that. Like it didn't seem like it was a Sprint company ad, and then you know now their commercials now is just even more worse. Like you got the old Verizon tech guy going on there talking about why he went to Sprint, and it's like that ain't gonna hurt Verizon because Verizon still got the stronger coverage, you know.
And the only thing they need to use ads like Verizon. The only thing Verizon does is in their commercials is they talk about the 4G LTE network, and that's it. They need to keep it short. I mean, they don't need an ad that lasts 5 minutes. I mean, oh, our 4G LTE network is the best in the world or the best in the country. Switch to Verizon now and zero down on the iPhone 7. And then after that, the commercial's over.
Yeah. Well, Sprint
Like,
can't do that though because their 4G LTE is still crap. compared to
Yeah.
other companies. Now they need to fix their network, and then they could do a commercial like that.
Network is the first thing, and then marketing.
Yeah,
Because they can't market and have a crappy network. Because as soon as people start switching to Sprint, they're just going to switch right back to where they came from. They're just going to lose customers again.
yeah, churn rate's going to be way too high. But yeah, network, CEO, and marketing. That's the three things they need to change in Sprint.
Marcelo at least needs to revamp the network. He's more worried about clowning other companies than he is helping his own network out. And that's one thing that's always bothered me with phone companies, because all four has done it at least once
Yeah,
with different CEOs. Verizon's been there, AT&T's been there, Sprint is in that boat right now, and then T-Mobile's been there. They want to pitch a joke at a different phone company, but their network, they're not even worrying about the network.
yeah. Hold on real quick. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, I had to get some water.
All right. But one thing they need to do is, the iPhone is the most popular phone, as you know. Most companies like Verizon and T-Mobile, they have these plans where you can get the iPhone for probably like zero down or something like that, something in that nature. Sprint needs to do something like that. They're still doing the old $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 thing, which people really don't feel like paying. And then they're on 2-year contracts. They might have a 1-year contract. I don't know how that goes, but
Yeah, they're
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 still they're still living pretty much in 2010, in my opinion.
yeah. I agree with you there. Like, I mean, and it shows that with everything that they do, they they seem to always want to take giant jumps, and they always wind up falling back on their butt. That's always what they're doing. Like with this whole change back from no longer leasing phones on Sprint, you have to go on a contract. I mean, like people are gonna hear that and be like, why are you guys back? In this day, I can just go and lease a phone at T-Mobile or at I don't know if AT&T does it.
Yeah, they
The
do it.
Yeah, so you can go to AT&T and T and lease it. I don't think Verizon does it, but that's just because they know that they're top. That
Too
they're
big to fail.
Yeah, so it's like they don't. I mean, Verizon really doesn't care what anyone says because obviously they still are number one, so they ain't worried about it. And it's like Sprint, you really gotta like stick with what you're gonna do. If you're gonna say we're gonna no more contracts, you guys can lease your phone, you need to stick with it, even if it seems dire at a certain point. You really gotta push on. You just gotta like say screw it and just go full throttle. You can't let off the gas and slow down. You're always
Yeah,
gonna.
and that's the problem with Sprint. They're just in the down spiral right now. So it's it's sad to say it, because I actually like them. I used to, but and I used to back the Sprint network all the time. Like, Sprint network is best. Uh, my phone is awesome. Blah blah blah. And now I can't say it because, I mean, it's really, once they got in fourth place, within the first year when they got in fourth place in the carry race, it was like it's not even a competition anymore. Especially when they got the new CEO, like I said. I mean, it's why just we have someone different run the company. I mean, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. They need a young, edgier CEO that is in tune with consumers today. That's
The
what.
only the only company that does not need that, though, is Verizon. Like I said, it's too big to fail.
Yeah, Verizon. I don't know, man. The day
AT&T is
Verizon
too big
ever
to fail.
falls, the day Verizon ever falls, man, I'm gonna be in shock. I mean, yeah, Verizon took first place, solely on the fact that of the acquisition of Altel, really is what put them over the top.
Yeah, I remember when my mom used to have Alltel.
Yeah, that
Then
put
she
them
would
over.
go out the house and she was roaming. But then once they switched to Verizon, she got rid of Alltel because they prompted her to switch to Verizon. She couldn't afford it at the time, and she
Yeah.
still really can't because I mean Verizon is oh
Yeah, I'm waiting for that
expensive,
day.
expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. They're very expensive, and they're just I don't know. They're uncaring. When I used to work for them, I hated my job with them. I just didn't like working for the customer service. It was just so hard. So
One thing I got to give them is the coverage, though. I mean, that's the one thing I adore that I wish Team or AT&T had, and AT&T itself is too big to fail, in my opinion.
yeah,
Those are the main two that are too big to fail.
yeah, they always will. But I mean, Verizon's network. Like I said, the majority of the reason that it expanded so big was the acquisition of Alltel. Like they took everything. I mean, I know Alltel still exists in a small market, but they took, I believe it was 85% of Alltel's market, which included network towers and everything, and that really put them ahead. And then, of course, with that, the money that they're making, from that, the revenue was giving them enough money to expand their network and upgrade it faster than any other carrier could do it, and that's what really put them on top.
I think that Verizon's new like equivalent to Sprint Spark is XLTE, which I
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody use it, but I imagine it's pretty fast. AT&T, in my opinion, will always be the fastest network in the U.S. Which I mean, the Cricket service is, I think, pretty damn fast. But I don't know. I haven't seen anybody post screenshots or benchmarks of XLTE. The only thing I really see now is just my their Wi-Fi connections and stuff like that. So, but
Well, we got Jake Wolf says that they have installment plans and contracts. I think he's referring to Sprint, like what they recently changed their postpaid to. I guess they're going that route.
hmm, it's good, but at the same time, it's still kind of old school. Because didn't don't all these companies now don't have installment plans anymore? Or I'm not sure,
I'm not sure either. I think
but
I think the installment plans is like what the leasing, isn't it?
I think yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's right.
Yeah. So if they
But
sell, they have installments and contracts, and I guess you could do one or the other. But they had mentioned that they were doing away with leasing Androids in a whole. So I don't know about the installment plans.
which is bad for business because uh, Galaxy Note, Galaxy S, really popular phones are up there with the iPhone. Run Android. That's gonna be another downfall for them. But everybody's installment plans are different. Like all the companies, all their installment plans are different. Of course, Sprint probably has a crappy installment plan. So it's all about money, man. It's all about money.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go ahead and end this broadcast, but I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me on here and diving down into the world of tech. Interesting subjects. So
Yeah, I haven't done a live broadcast in it feels like almost a year now. So I'm
well,
glad I can come up here too. Thank you for having me.
yeah. Well, I mean, definitely you should definitely get on with the We Are Techies. I'm always like it's hard to do that because everyone that's involved is in different time zones. So
And different schedules and
yeah, it's pretty hard, but um. You should definitely do like a couple of reviews, like as far as with your iPhone and your OnePlus, man.
the
The,
problem I'm having is setting a whole camera thing up. Like a tripod would be awesome. I don't know if I would really need one, but I really have nowhere to put a camera to have it like actually sitting in a good spot to film anything. So
have you ever seen an app on the Play Store called Geek?
I I've seen like Appy Geek or Apply Geek or something like that.
Yeah, there's an app called Geek. It's from developer name is Wish App, and you could get like all kinds of things like tripods, camera mounts, smartphone cases. headphones, Bluetooth speakers, like at a cheap. The only thing about it is like, instead of buying on eBay from, like, say from China, I think this is where a lot of their products come from. So it does take like a week or two to get to you. But the price for those things, like, I seen a tripod on there for like $3. You know, it's like,
I'm gonna install that.
yeah,
I'm
I,
looking at it on the Google Play Store on my OnePlus right now, and I'm looking through the photos, and it looks like everything up here is $9, $13, $8.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's like, I got a pair of these really they're like they're earbuds. They zip up, so I'm sure people have seen them before. But I got them as a free gift just for installing the app and signing up. Like, it let me pick like one gift, and all I had to do was pay the shipping, which the shipping was $1. And
Wow.
my earphones should be here sometime this coming week, and I was like, nice. So, and they got a lot of stuff. Like, they have an HD camera. Not camera, but a camcorder. Okay, so the camcorder's got the little display that flips out, and you can spin it so you can turn it around to vlog and stuff. I think that's like $34. Okay, um, the reviews that was written on it was really good. Like, people have compared it to Sony's and to Canon and say that it's right up there with quality of not only just the hardware but also like the videos it takes. But it cost $34 and shipping was like 15. So I was like, that is absolutely cheap compared to
Yeah.
spending like 300 on a camera.
Yeah, spending 300 to thousands of dollars in a DSLR. So I gotta check that out. But most of the time, what's probably gonna happen is if when I take a video, it's probably gonna be taken with the iPhone 6, because for some reason my camera quality on the OnePlus is degraded like a lot, which I gotta check out. I think it has to do with optimization in the ROM, because when these guys build the ROM, they really don't focus on the camera, so the camera optimization is really poor.
Yeah.
So I just got to check that out. I might have to go back to stock, which I don't even know what the stock ROM for the OnePlus one is. I think it's like a Cyanogen OS or Oxygen OS. So I got to check that out.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, dude, to get your channel going, man. That'd be awesome. This, like I said, like, I want to get you on We Are Techies because you got a lot of insight that I think you bring to the show that would be like amazing, to have all of us together on there and just kind of go at it like this. So I'll try to work it out, and I'll keep you in the loop about it, and we'll try to work it out to get you on the next one that we do, because I think we're gonna do one not this week, but maybe the week after.
all right, I'll check to see how everything is in terms of schedule is, because I know me and CV Tech Reviews are in the same time zone. Actually in the same state. So
Yeah.
when we were talking about the whole Charlotte riots and stuff like that, so I'm on the East Coast time zone, which that would be. So, but
I think we could
I'll
probably do
have to
one
check
this
everything
week.
out.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do one this week, just like let me know this coming week, like what day you're free to do it, and at what time in your time zone you're free to do it, and I'll work it around mine, and I'll try to see if some of the other guys want to jump in, and maybe we'll have like a 3-person or a 5-person show, and who knows, maybe it'll gel. But I really do want to get that We Are Techies off because, like I said, for most of the guys on there, I built that channel in the sense that there was like, we didn't have to hold anything back because of the YouTube censorship and everything like that, right? So, I mean, if you literally want to say that, like, John Ledger's a POS, you really can go and do it, and you wouldn't have to worry about your channel getting a strike on it or anything.
Well, I didn't I didn't know that. Like in terms
Yeah,
of the censorship, I didn't know you couldn't say certain things. Because
yeah,
I hear people all the time on YouTube saying the POS and stuff like that.
yeah, they do. I mean, like, this recently happened. YouTube, I don't know what YouTube deal is, but they're like, they want to be like, to monetize your videos is really what it's all about. So, like, possibly, because I did swear a few times on this broadcast, they may demonetize this video because I have it set to automatically monetize, and they might demonetize it for a swear word. I mean, like, you really can't cuss, you can't talk about political views that's like, really deep, or you can't make like any type of like sexual humor or anything like that. You do any of those things on your video or live broadcast, and they demonetize it because it's not friendly. sort of like family friendly. So it's like I
They
built.
want to make it more like actual TV than what
Yeah,
YouTube used to stand for, in my
yeah.
opinion.
A lot of YouTubers are mad about it. So I built We Are Techie, so it gives all of us a chance to like really unload about how we feel about tech, and there's no monetization on those videos or broadcasts, so there's nothing to worry about. Like go nuts, basically. So
All right. So yeah, I'll try to work something out. Hopefully I can, because this would be the first one. I don't wait. This isn't the We Are Taking channel, is it? This is your
uh,
regular one?
yeah,
Uh, then that would be the first video or the first live stream that I'll actually be on the channel. I really wanted to be on the very first one when you had Mike from his channel on the
yeah,
live video, but I couldn't make it.
yeah. So we'll get you on there. We'll work this. I'll hit you up on Hangouts and but yeah, you got to get going. So again, I appreciate you coming in, and for everyone that watched and commented and asked questions, I appreciate it. So I'll see you guys next time.